Hi, friends. We're live on a Thursday. It's Jer with Norris. How are you? It is sunny, but finally fall at 54 degrees. Mr. Norris Howard, how are you today? It's the morning. We are on a live stream before noon, so we're not hungover.
It's not. Yeah, it's just a little rough. It's rough, but we had to pop on and talk about this because a lot of news broke yesterday, and it was important for us to come in and provide y'all with some additional love and context.
Well, we've been out and about. We were at a great event yesterday. Also, I'm looking at the live stream of myself over your shoulder on a screen, and I am realizing how much I am echoing an L. Borland that owns an iPad right now.
Yeah, but that's your general vibe. Like, that's who you are.
True, but I tend to go a little bit more dressed up for the live streams.
Do you?
I appreciate you so much. We're going to let people join us for a little bit until we record today's episode, which we're actually going to turn and burn and put out on our podcast feeds right away.
Yeah.
Because, there is some stuff. We were at the Downtown Detroit Partnership Fall Forum.
That's correct.
So we've got some reactions from that, especially some of the transit news.
Big transit news. People are really excited about it.
For sure. And then some people are very much not. They don't understand why we need to do this. But if you've been to the Amtrak station, listen, if you've been to the Amtrak in Detroit and then been to the Amtrak in Dearborn, you would ask yourself, if I were to put you in each of those cities and tell you which one was the center of our region, you would say Dearborn.
And also, on top of that, you probably haven't been on the train in a while because we haven't made it easy for you to get on the train in a while. So, yeah, absolutely, we need it.
Well, when I stopped through there recently, I was visiting a friend over that way, and I posted up on our member-only Discord on Patreon, and it was crazy how many people, when they're traveling, go to Dearborn. If they live in the region, they go to Dearborn to launch off on the train instead of Detroit.
Oh, my parents do. Like, they're both West Side, so Dearborn is actually marginally closer. Not by
it's 6 and 1/2 dozen of the other for
your
parents.
Yeah. It's marginally closer, but like it's just a better experience. So creating a more centralized, more cohesive experience, I think makes perfect sense, and absolutely, I'm all for it.
And it's not a shack.
No. And that's another thing, is that we don't really have anything that can collect train traffic at volume right now in city limits. So, yeah, I'm really excited for the whole situation.
For sure. When we're going to dive into it a lot in the episode itself, I'm going to let people join us on the live stream for a few minutes in case anybody's up and about or needs some morning companionship, if you will.
That I would not. Companionship's a weird way to put that, but okay. If you just need a nice morning chat about what's going on in the city of Detroit.
I have this urge, and of course, it's betraying my age again. I want to be like Robin Williams. Good morning, Detroit.
Yeah, don't do that.
No. But
No.
R.I.P. Robin Williams. What a genius.
You know what? R.I.P. Robin Williams, and you know what? Let him stay dead. Stop making AI videos of Robin Williams.
You know what? His daughter was talking about that.
Stop making AI videos of all these people, of Michael Jackson, I saw one where Martin Luther King and Malcolm X were wrestlers, and Martin Luther King had made a heel turn and was like the heel. And I'm sitting back and I'm just like, I am so not for this. Like you know me. For the most part, I am all about the newness. Consider myself a technologist. I'm all about new things, dude. I am so not for making videos of revered dead people.
So I've been thinking about this with, because AI is everywhere now and slop is everywhere. And I was thinking about this, talking about the videos of Martin Luther King and other folks. I think if you want to make yourself look like a samurai or a pheasant or whatever.
If it's your own likeness, do what you want.
Do what you want. My issue is when you start doing stuff to other people.
Yeah.
Right? Like because we've had paste your face in the animated GIF forever, right?
Oh, yeah. But listen, y'all, we know where this is going. Oh, we could take anyone's image and put them in any context we can think of. Like we're literally not gonna think about the negatives of this. Like it's all haha right now, but we're not thinking.
I'm terrified of this, but we have a Detroit-made duck decoy and a pheasant in front of us. I'm waiting for someone to replace us with them.
Go for it. The world might be a better place if it was ran by pheasants currently. So, whatever. But yeah, like, I don't know. The AI videos, I'm going out there and I'm telling y'all, stop doing it. If anybody takes my word for anything, stop doing it. You want to use your own face, fine. But like, let the dead rest, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. 1213 says, good morning. We are here.
Good morning, my friend. It's good to see you. It's good to chat with y'all on the live stream. I'm a ball of anger and frustration. So I'm ready to get this episode rolling.
Why are you a ball of anger and frustration?
We talked about this earlier. I'm just tired of stupid people, and I'm tired of coddling stupid people, and I'm tired of having to make things palatable for stupid people. So that's how I feel. Not y'all. Anybody watching right now and Daily Detroit listeners, you guys are wonderful. I'm just talking about the general populace, and I'm about to just not do it. There was a big argument. Are you familiar with Mark Lamont Hill, the content creator and author? Anyway, he's a writer, black intelligentsia type guy. And he was on the Joe Budden podcast, which is like a black podcast, a former rapper, Joe Budden. And, there's this big argument where he tries to articulate himself in a way. And the guy he's arguing with is like, you're always using all these big words. And he's like, dude, I use normal words and you just don't understand them.
That was a burn.
And I'm just like, I'm bringing that energy to the rest of 2025 and going into 2026. I am no longer filtering myself for the lowest common denominator.
It's so hard to, not that it's annoying, I would say.
Yeah.
Because we did a video that is, the interview is going to go on our podcast feed real soon. But I did an interview that we posted the video of from Michigan Central. You can go look in our YouTube channel. It's already doing for us well, right? Because let's be honest, there is no Mr. Beast-like goals here.
No.
We're not, if something
I don't even want to be that famous.
No.
Who wants to be that famous?
And we talk about Metro Detroit stuff. Like, if you get 10 million views, there's not 10 million people here. So, and it's fine, whatever, I'll take whatever. But, it's not the goal, right?
No.
The goal is building community. I'm not here, we got 500 views on the regular. It'd be amazing. Because our audio podcast is really where we do stuff. But
Yeah.
I put this video out because I wanted to get it, outside of the feed cadence, because we had that conversation about marijuana. I wanted to get in there. There's news about the marijuana thing, which, by the way, I should add to the rundown, about the marijuana proposal to pause new licenses. I should add that to the rundown.
Yeah, that's important.
That's actually very important as an update to our conversation. But we did this interview. Great conversation with somebody from Michigan Central.
Yeah.
And some of the comments already are like, why aren't they using the old train station? I literally asked the woman in charge. This person is in charge. She is smart, intelligent.
No, because
and I point blank asked, why is this not in the train? I asked the question.
Yeah.
And you just didn't get there yet.
No, it's not. They had no desire to get there because you didn't offer it immediately right at the front of everything. It's goofy. It's goofy.
T Prime Tommy is in the chat.
What's going on, my boy?
It's good to see you. It's good to see people here.
Good to see. Yeah, man.
Literally, we're doing this at 10:30 a.m.
I didn't even know we were going live. I sat down and realized people were here, and you know what? I just said, I guess this is what we're doing.
All right. So I'm going to bring that up really quickly. Why don't you talk to the folks for a second while I make sure that I get that freeze piece about the Michigan legislature in our rundown for the proper show.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to talk about today because we're talking about some really, really exciting stuff, and also at the same time, I don't want to say inside baseball, but some things that are really, I think, important to the Detroit mayoral race. And one of the main things that I want us to focus on, and what I think is really important is, yes, I know a lot of our listeners are outside of the city of Detroit, but I want you guys to really kind of key in and focus in, because Detroit is still the cultural hub of the region. There's nothing anybody can do to change that. And so when we're talking about the future of transit, the future of leadership, the future of business, all that kind of stuff, I mean, we can't keep ignoring the health of Detroit for too much longer. And it seems like we're turning a corner, but we have to continue to talk about the collective health of not just the region, but the city itself. And the thing is, y'all, if the city of Detroit is healthy, all the rest of the suburbs will be healthier. Like, that's the part I don't get. So I want us to try to, when we're talking about the Detroit mayoral race, when we're talking about development at the train station or other places, let's not look at it in the context of like, oh, that's happening in Detroit, it doesn't affect me, because I could tell you right now, like, you think if people can't freely get here from, Chicago or Toronto or other places and experience Detroit a lot more, that doesn't trickle out to some of the outside areas, that your family members that live in those areas won't take advantage of that and you'll be able to see your families a lot more. Like, let's just think about more of the holisticness of the region. And if Detroit is healthy, then the rest of the region is healthy. I don't see why that's a crazy thing to say, personally. But some people seem to think that, I don't know. Maybe I'm insane. Mr. 1213, Tommy is actually correct. That was not AI. That was rotoscoping.
Isn't that the fancy way, like the fancy CGI?
Yeah, but it basically is just a fancy way of putting a film clip on top of another film clip. So it wasn't actually, and they just interspliced it frame by frame. So it wasn't necessarily AI, so to speak. AI is generating new images. Like that was using two images that already existed. What stuff like Sora does is it algorithmically takes the image and creates new images. That's why, like, even if you use somebody's face, it's not a perfect one-to-one creation, because mathematically it cannot perfectly recreate somebody's face, because there's just too many other factors that go into images. And also, the human brain fills a lot of gaps. Here's a thing that a lot of people don't know, is that the human brain fills in a lot of gaps. We actually don't see, quote unquote, everything. Our brain actually anticipates what it's about to see, and it fills in gaps. That's why when you watch film or you play video games or something, and there's a really, really like smooth or you see changes in frame rate, that it's really stark and obvious, because your brain is anticipating the next frame and that frame doesn't happen. You're like, literally it makes your brain stutter. So that's kind of like another thing with optics and the way our minds work.
It's fascinating stuff. I mean, it's cool to hear your perspective from like a gaming view, and then I think about the same things when I started working in television. And seeing the changes in even when I started, it was before HD. So
yeah.
All right, let's get into the show. Is there anything we need to answer? How did they get Kennedy to say something he didn't actually say in a press conference? Voice, yeah.
Yeah, it was just voiceover.
Yeah. All right, let's get into it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, let's do the rundown. Let's do the thing. We'll get recording here. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, friends, and welcome to your Daily Detroit, sharing what to know and where to go in Southeast Michigan. I am Jer Stays, coming to you from our studio at Techtown. It is a sunny Thursday, October 16th, 2025, and we've got a ton of great stories around town to talk about, and a recap of that mayoral debate last night about the city of Detroit. Helping me do this, and in fact, I don't think I could do it without him. None other than the Prince Brightmore himself, Norris Howard. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. As y'all know, the West Side is back in the building.
We have to be balanced on this show, fair and balanced between East Side and West Side.
Is that what it is? Is it fair and balanced?
We're fair and balanced.
Okay.
I can't speak for others.
All right.
We
try our best.
Try our best.
Actually, I'm not going to be fair and balanced with stupid, but as long as people come to us correct with some great ideas and a story to tell, we'll give you a chance.
What was the line you were telling me offline? I've seen it on social media too, on one of them podcasts. It's going viral.
Oh, which one?
Oh, about words.
Oh yeah, it was just like I don't get mad at me for using big words. I use normal words. You just don't know what they are. Yeah,
Oh, man, ice cold.
yeah, man.
All right, let's get into some stories. I think first let's talk about where we've been. And we were at the Downtown Detroit Partnership Fall Forum at Michigan Central yesterday. We've already got a video up on YouTube. We're going to have some other conversations in the podcast feed and up on YouTube about what's happening out of there. I'm really looking forward to a conversation coming up with Downtown Detroit Partnership head Eric Larson about a number of topics. But let's talk about the big news out of this, and that there is an intercity transit hub next to Michigan Central on the campus coming. There's $40 million of funding already earmarked for it. This would consolidate the Amtrak station up here in New Center and the bus terminal where Greyhound and others work out of over on Howard Street, kind of on the border
Howard Street.
On the border of Corktown and downtown Detroit. Both, to be polite, are aged. I would say they're aged.
They old as dirt. All right, old as dirt, broke down, need love, need help. And it's important that we recognize that, right? Like, I think one of the main things we got to realize here is that Detroit is one of a really interesting town in that it kind of serves as a crossroads. It is the middle child of what I consider like the three great Great Lakes cities, being Chicago, Detroit, Toronto, like the grandest of the Great Lakes cities. And we're just in the middle, right? You got Toronto, biggest city in Canada. You got Chicago, the third biggest city in the United States. And we're just kind of in the middle. And there have been rumblings of this idea of a rail corridor between the three of them for many, many years. And this announcement comes out, and it feels like this is kind of the second step. Like, the first step is the idea, but this feels like the first tangible step into making that a reality.
And it's tangible because there's money.
Yes, there's money. So they've said that this whole project to get everything rolling is going to cost about $50 million. They already have 40.
Yeah.
They got 40 locked in. And so obviously the final 10 is going to come from various sources, but it seems like this is going to be a thing that is not a if and when, it is a when and how quickly.
Yeah, and we're talking, 2029 in some cases for some of this stuff. And extension of the Wolverine line into Windsor. And Windsor and Canada's committed to border facilities. And it really seems like Canada is investing in Detroit in a lot of ways. That's one of the things about the Fall Forum that was interesting to me, was that it was focused on cross-border collaboration. One statistic I did not know, downtown Windsor has thousands of more residents than downtown Detroit.
Really?
Yeah.
That makes, you know what though, but when you go there, it kind of makes sense because so much of downtown Detroit is dedicated to office space. And when you go over to Windsor, it's way more residential. There's way more dedication to residential space in downtown Windsor than downtown Detroit. So now that I'm thinking about it, it kind of tracks. Man, I remember going to Windsor, man, and just going, there used to be all kinds of, what is that on Ouellette? Ouellette, their main street there. All the clubs and bars and restaurants that used to be on Ouellette, man. And there's a few that have held on, but I just remember when Windsor was just the place to go when you were 18 or 19 and 20.
I was under the age of 21 before September 11th.
Yes.
What a world to be in.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Windsor was I almost moved to Windsor because I was working downtown Detroit. And at the time, I was like 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
I was like, if I can figure out a way to move to Windsor so I can have the walkable downtown I want, and I just got to shoot across the bridge. And again, this is before 2000. This is before 9/11.
Yeah.
So a whole different. I cannot share with you how different things were back then.
Well, even in the early 2000s, late 2000s, when I was turning 18 and 19 years old, border crossings were, more, I don't want to say lax, but it was, all you need was an ID. You didn't need a passport.
This is something that I think is such an important long-term investment, for
Yeah.
both economies. We'll have more conversations on the show, but I wanted to highlight this one because it's such a big deal. And if you hadn't heard about it, make sure to put it at the top of the show.
Yeah.
Now, an update to something that we talked about just this week. Michigan's marijuana industry, as we know, is kind of in crisis, right? The prices are low for people. People like the low prices.
Yeah.
But the rest of the industry is in real trouble. You've got people leaving the industry. You've got word of a 24% wholesale tax. So what we're hearing now is that the Michigan Senate is considering a complete freeze on new cannabis licenses statewide. The proposed bills would stop issuing new licenses for growers, processors, and retailers starting January 1st. They'd also cap dispensaries at 1 per 10,000 residents in each community. The idea is to kind of limit supply here. In Crane's Detroit business, the Michigan Cannabis Industry Association is calling this a lifeline for operators already facing business failures. Critics say it creates regional monopolies. Either way, this whole idea of unlimited cannabis in Michigan, I think we're seeing the end of it.
Yeah, not only are we seeing the end of it, I think we're starting to see a complete consolidation, and not necessarily in a bad way, of the marijuana industry, right? We talked earlier this week about the wholesale tax that's going to be coming down the pipe with the new budget.
Pending the lawsuit.
Pending the lawsuit, because the state is being sued over it. But the saturation of the marijuana industry, and this is me saying somebody who is, voted for legalization, who does not think that people should be going to jail or getting tickets for marijuana consumption. However, the rollout of the marijuana industry, I think, has been pretty terrible in Michigan, because it exploded, drove prices into a crater. And now you have a lot of business owners who are just like, this is not making money. This is unsustainable. And so a freeze on new licenses sounds like it's bad for consumers, but ultimately we got to get to a point to where we can have a healthy business environment for the marijuana industry, because right now it's just not. It's too cheap. There's too many options. And to be perfectly honest, Jared, we talked off air. You were talking about specifically the town of New Buffalo on the west side of the state, which has something like 2,000 people, but has 24 marijuana dispensaries.
Something like that.
Or something like that.
Well, that's because it's serving an out-of-state market.
But it doesn't matter. You don't need that many. Like for 2,000, even if that were to swell to 20,000 people, you don't need... Every 1,000 people need the marijuana dispensary? No.
Well, as I said, they're serving out-of-staters coming in, right?
It doesn't matter. That's still too many. Even if the town swells by tenfold every day, you still wouldn't need that many marijuana shops.
Fun fact, somewhat unrelated, but just interesting. I remember looking up in some Detroit history books and learning that Detroit had the highest per capita at one point number of saloons per person in the nation.
Saloons.
Yes, we had saloons everywhere. I think about this with places like Nancy Whiskey. They've been around forever.
What is the difference between a bar and a saloon?
I feel like a saloon, in my mind, is like, it's got a spittoon and maybe a tin seal. I mean, this is back in the day. This is like the 1800s.
Oh, okay. Because I'm trying to figure out, is there a legal difference? Is there a different legal definition between a saloon and a bar?
You know who would know? Archaeologist Mickey Lyons.
Mickey Lyons.
We got to find Mickey and
Mickey. What's the difference? Please tell us.
So it's interesting to see that update. We've been getting a lot of feedback. We'll respond to that feedback in a future episode about Michigan's marijuana business. Now, automaker Stellantis announced this week what the company says is its biggest investment ever, $13 billion to expand U.S. production over the next 4 years. And Michigan is getting a piece of that pie. Here in the Motor City, the Detroit Assembly Complex on the city's east side will see $130 million to build the next generation Dodge Durango, launching in 2029. Up in Warren, the truck plant is getting a $100 million upgrade to produce an all-new range-extended EV and a large SUV starting in 2028. That's adding more than 900 jobs. The company's also investing $600 million in Indiana and Illinois, bringing back more than 3,300 jobs there. All told, this means 5 new vehicles, over 5,000 new jobs across the Midwest, and a 50% increase in U.S. production. The company is really focused on, they say, giving people whatever kind of vehicle that they want. It's good to see something happening with Stellantis because you cannot cut your way to success.
No, you can't. No, you can't. And, I think this is also a big deal because it's felt like for many moons that Stellantis was kind of sitting behind the 8 ball, especially compared to when you saw the projects that Ford was throwing money into, GM obviously moving into a new headquarters, downscale, but still having a very visible presence within the city of Detroit. And it felt like Stellantis kind of was running out of ideas, running out of stuff to do. We had been hearing about all the leadership changes with the CEO and whatnot. And so to see that they are almost recommitting specifically to Southeast Michigan and Metro Detroit in a big way, it's very heartening, and it's also very heartening to hear that they're going to be doing the new Durango in the city of Detroit, which my dad will be very happy about. That man has driven a Dodge Durango for I think since '99.
So is my auntie.
Yeah,
they love Durangos.
They love the Durangos. It's something about it's about boomers and Durangos. I don't know, but they love them. So he's going to be super happy to know that his Durango will be made down the street from where he grew up. And I think that's fantastic to hear that there's a further investment into EVs as well is always, really exciting to me, especially considering that from a federal perspective, it seems like there's not going to be a lot of assistance there, but there's still a market for it. So it's very exciting to see Stellantis continue to make this investment and to continue to support what is still the backbone of the Michigan economy, and that's the auto industry.
All right, a little bit of news I want to share. If you're marking your calendars, unfortunately, you might want to take something off of your calendar.
Oh,
Detroit's Noel night is taking a year off. Midtown Detroit, the organizer, announced the holiday tradition will take a pause in 2025 as organizers reimagine the event's future. This comes after conversations with local businesses and cultural institutions who want to see stronger logistics, more visibility, and programming. Organizers say the break will help design a more sustainable event that better serves Midtown shops and cultural venues. Noel Night has been around since 1973. It's one of my favorite things about Detroit. I have so many good memories. I remember when there was that with the hotel tours over there on Ferry Street and the carriages and the DI. I feel like this is as much as this breaks my heart, I feel like this is actually a good idea because events are not the same after the pandemic. I was just talking with some friends about this. There was a time where we were always covering events and things at Daily Detroit. They just don't exist. I would call those people after the pandemic. They just don't do it. People are not going out like they used to. And I want to see such a cornerstone event, bring people out in the wintertime, get people to shop in Midtown, get people to see the city. I love those kind of things. I mean, do you remember De-Electricity?
Oh, I love I actually liked De-Electricity more than I liked Noel Night, to be honest.
But De-Electricity is such a heavy lift.
No, it is.
For organization.
For many reasons.
But you're straight out of the middle of New York or Chicago when these events are kicking off. I remember singing in the streets in the middle of Noel Night between the library and the DIA. And I want to see that energy in the city. That's a great thing. So if this can help do it, I'm for it, but I'm still bummed.
Yeah, I'm bummed. It's something that I used to, always, and hopefully in the future we'll look forward to. It was a thing that I don't think I missed a Noel night in, outside of the pandemic ever, since they really had been doing it. And it was one of those things that I felt was a marker of particularly Midtown really being the spiritual center of the city. I know downtown is improving and it is what it is, but during Noel night, during De-Electricity, the center of the city is Midtown in many senses, in many sort of aspects, right? It is generally where most of our festivals are held. You have a cultural center that is there. You have businesses that have been thriving for decades.
You have the
in
energy
Midtown.
that is Wayne State.
The energy that is Wayne State. And so when it comes to like the people energy, a lot of times it felt like Midtown was the center of the city, and Noel night was part of why that was. It was like Dali, de-electricity, Noel night. So you knew from like September through the end of the year, you had stuff to do. You had some festivals to look forward to in Midtown. And then actually also like Africa World Fest used to be at the Charles Wright in the summertime. And so, it was a vibrant place to be in.
Concert of Colors.
Yeah, Concert of Colors, vibrant places to be in. And so it's disappointing, but I hope that it's only 1 year. And I hope that they'll be back next year stronger than ever and ready to roll, because Noel night is a very special, deep and sincere in my heart event.
So many good memories. If you've got memories, if you've got thoughts or ideas on this or any of the stories we talked about so far, dailydetroit@gmail.com or 313-789-3211. Leave a voicemail. We'll play it on the show. Norris Howard.
Here we go.
We got to talk about it. We got to talk about
We
this.
got to talk about it.
Last night on WXYZ out in Southfield
Yeah.
was what will probably be the only mayoral debate
Yep.
for the city of Detroit between City Council President Mary Sheffield and Pastor Solomon Kinlock. And,
That's right.
We've had a number of people ask about our reactions, and let's react. But I want to start with one thing, and I do not want this to besmirch the huge amount of respect I have for Chuck Stokes, an icon of journalism in this community.
That's right.
Carolyn Clifford,
Another icon.
amazing. WXYZ, an institution. Okay. Unlike some, I'm not somebody who's like, screw everybody. I believe that it takes a village as far as informing our community.
Everything has a place.
That said, it bugs me that this debate was not in the city of Detroit, and it really bugs me. I feel like in previous years we've been to debates in person, and they were in the city of. I just think it's so important.
It doesn't just bug me. I actively think it's whack. Like, I'm just gonna call it whack.
And
I think
that WXYZ shouldn't air it.
No, not at all. Everyone should air it. Like, it should be. See, these are the type of things to me. Like, they should be network agnostic. It should just be everyone is playing it, right? And also, the biggest missed opportunity is this was not held in front of the people. And this is the thing I'm talking about. This was not held in front of the people. We did not get the opportunity for Detroiters to stand in front of either one of them with a microphone and ask them to their faces, what are you going to do for me?
Now, as a producer, I understand the value of a studio debate, and that's why oftentimes when debates were more of a thing, and they seem to be falling out of favor in general, you would have a studio and a public debate.
You have
right?
both, yeah.
You have both. And we're not going to have that. So that's something that, for me, again, I don't mean it to knock the organization or the talented people. And I'm sure whether it's negotiation or timing or budget, I don't know. But as someone who remembers that we had that, I just think it's important that it's here.
Yeah, it's vital. And I think it's really important, especially considering the track record of a candidate like Reverend Kinlock. And I don't want to get too deep into it. And again, I'm trying to be as balanced as I can. But one of the main attacking points from Mary Sheffield against Reverend Kinlock was that he had not been visible during his campaign. Not as visible as her, not even as visible as some of the other primary candidates. And this was yet another opportunity to appear in front of the people, to give the answers to the people that they wanted, to give them an idea of what type of leader you were going to be. And that was another missed opportunity, particularly, in my opinion, for his campaign.
I think as far as answers, you could disagree with what the answers are, but I felt like one candidate had direct answers, and one, it was like we got there eventually. One candidate, because they've been in government for so long.
Yeah, the polish was clear.
The polish was different between the two, and you can feel however you want to feel about that or what you think we need, but it was a stark difference between the two candidates in that regard. I do have my own personal concerns not, yes, actually, I've made jokes about the idea that, well, if Pastor Kinlock does become mayor, maybe he should consider selling the Oakland Township home.
Yeah.
Even if he lives in the city, he should consider that. But I don't like, again, tied to what we started the episode with, right? Or the segment with. But for me, it's that knowledge and being there involved in these conversations. It was clear, like, okay, you might have different ideas, but also it's clear, like, we have covered these rooms for a long time, and he's one face we haven't seen a lot of.
No.
In those rooms or in those areas talking about policy. And the thing is that there's other pastors that have been.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? I don't want to go into names, but there's a number of other pastors who have been talking, Now, I know that means that he's still doing work and doing his thing. I'm not taking anything away from that work. But it felt like one understood the levers and one is still trying to figure them out.
And in my opinion, I think where Detroiters have said during the primary, based on their votes, is that they're not down for on-the-job learning. That's not something that appeals to them right now. I mean, we still have to remember that Mary Sheffield won 50% of the vote.
So one of the points in the debate was talking about crime, and Pastor Kinlock made some highlights about how there hasn't been enough work done. Here's a part where I feel like I saw a miss in that, right?
Yeah.
And the reason is because you got to narrow out down a little bit. So when I talk to neighbors, I hear the concern is, yes, we've made progress in this area. It's more about, okay, property crime. It's how many neighbors I've had who have had a lawnmower stolen, a generator stolen, their car broken into. That is the crime issue that we need to wrestle with next. Right. And yes, we still have a ton of work to do with interpersonal crime and violent crime. There's still too much, right? But progress has been made. That quality of life, when you look at the data and say, well, the crime's gone down, but people still don't feel as safe. It's that idea of like, yeah, you know what? I have friends who lock their patio furniture to their porch, right? And that's what I mean about fidelity of answer.
Yeah, well, not even just fidelity of answer. I think it's really important for both candidates to understand that the national talking point, because this has actually been the thread of conversation from this debate that has gained the most sort of online and national attention, is particularly violent crime is what is spurring on national and federal action. And currently, or at least the rhetoric of violent crime, because right now the National Guard is in Portland, and Portland is nowhere near any sort of national high of violent crime. But I think that when you heard Mary Sheffield unequivocally say something like, we don't want the National Guard here. My parents were here in 1967. I don't want them to have to relive that type of imagery. Detroit can't handle Detroit. We are making strides. We're moving in the right direction. And there was an opportunity, I think, for Reverend Kinlock to not just meet halfway, but I think also to endear himself to maybe a cohort that he doesn't currently have, which is the more left-leaning voter. And I think there was a missed opportunity with his answer. I think his answer was a bit obtuse. He did not say, bring on the tanks. He did not say...
Social media is taking that too far.
He did not say, I will welcome tanks and the National Guard into the city of Detroit. That's not what he said, but he did sort of downplay and leave the door open to saying he would participate with federal assistance with crime. And I think that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. So I think that was a missed opportunity for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how people wrestle around this, because you've got, multiple crime issues, and in different parts of the city, it's different things, right?
Yeah.
So there are issues around parties in different parts of the city. You've got issues with, strings of shootings or different issues in different parts of the city, because, and that really honestly means talking about economic success. Because at the end of the day, no matter how many cops you put on the street, until you find a way to improve economic conditions And that is the thing about anywhere in America. And I think that's what fundamentally is missing in this response, among many other things. But what's missing in this response of like, something that's Instagram or tweet ready or TikTok ready of like, oh, I want to go see troops. I want to go see this. That actually won't fix anything long term.
No, it doesn't.
That gets people rised up and like gets them going but if you want to fix issues, you actually have to address affordability. You actually have to address job opportunity. And that's how you're going to get there, as well as things like education. And that's a tough one because in Detroit, the mayor does not control the school board. But, Kinloch said, oh, education's number one. I believe number one priority. But also, I believe, don't quote me, but I believe he said he doesn't want to control the school board. So what does that look like?
Yeah. It was
right.
it was a bit obtuse. And I think also to your point, talking about the crime issue, is that I've said many times on this show, until you make people feel safer, the rhetoric around crime reduction will fall on deaf ears. Like it doesn't matter what the numbers are. I like looking at the numbers. I know what the numbers are,
and there's still bad things happening too, right? Because there's still bad things happening,
and there always will be. However, you can get to a point to where it is rare. You can work towards that, but you can't do it without addressing the issues and the context that allow crime to proliferate: poverty, drugs, availability of guns, lack of education, child poverty rates. Like, these are the things that if you solve them, you make the context for crime less likely. So we know that. And without answering it holistically, which I think neither candidate necessarily did, in my opinion, I think we'll be kind of getting a half-baked approach on the crime question.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next few weeks. Election day is coming up. We'll be doing a live stream. Also, we'll be inviting people in for this live stream to come join us, have pizza, watch what we're doing, and kick it. Yeah,
yeah. And I think one of the big takeaways here is from this debate was that one common refrain from Kinloch was talking about corruption, insular politics, Mary being from a prestigious family in the city of Detroit, and so on and so forth. And I worry that just doesn't matter. That doesn't matter to the voter. And what I mean by I worry is that they're both prestigious people. Like, it feels weird now that we're in this point in Detroit politics where I don't particularly feel like either one of them is like the lumpen proletariat. Like neither.
And I have a lot of respect for the work that Solomon Kinloch has done.
Absolutely.
And so I'll seize on something else here. And for me, it's going to be about this downtown versus neighborhood thing. And this is out of the reporting that I have done and what I know.
I was trying to get there, but you got there before me.
I want to land there.
I'm going to let you land.
Because there is this idea of like downtown's so beautiful and Detroit's areas are not. And
yes.
what we're fundamentally not talking about in the public conversation is an important fact.
Hit them with it.
Okay? Detroit's parks in downtown are still owned by the city, but there has been a contract that has been extended. The city of Detroit does not pay for those parks and that placemaking.
No.
The city government does not pay for it out of our taxes.
Or the trash pickup
pickup downtown. A lot of these services that help out Detroit, the city is already not paying for. The Downtown Detroit Partnership, the nonprofit, has their own local levy as well as philanthropic donations over and above that take that off of the city already so that there can be more money that goes to the neighborhood parks.
Yes.
If you want to know why downtown and Midtown, you look at Midtown Inc. We're just talking about Noel Night. Mm-hmm. They're the ones doing a ton of that work.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not as much city service. The city has a lighter touch down here.
Yeah.
Because that private industry is stepping up.
And not even...
So when we say, we got to focus, the city's already, the dirty little secret is the city's already not doing the most down there. No. Right? They're not. It's already offloaded. And so that's where we need to have, I know that it's like reactive and I know it's about complicated issues and race and all those other things. But like, as a guy who has been here for a long time and knows how this works, there is a technical reason, and we could duplicate that in neighborhoods.
And that's the thing that I was going to jump in, because you named two really important organizations, being the Downtown Detroit Partnership and Midtown Detroit Incorporated, both nonprofits. There is a model that I think we should try, or at least think about trying, in the neighborhoods, which is this sort of neighborhood nonprofit. It was alluded to by bringing back neighborhood city hall, stuff like that. But the neighborhood nonprofit, which then can raise its own money, separate of taxes, right? Because as we know, the tax base in the city has been eroded for 70 years.
And it's going to take a long time to boost up.
And it's going to take a long time to rebuild. So how do we create additional revenue? Okay, we create a neighborhood nonprofit of which that can pull donation and money and funding sources from elsewhere, and then use it to beautify the neighborhoods, provide grants for rebuilding businesses in the commercial corridors, help people with down payments for homes. Like, creating that context and paradigm, and then the city can divert its monies and energies to the most stricken areas and just get them back to normal, right? So let's say you get a nonprofit in Avenue of Fashion, Sherwood Forest, and all that. You get one over in Old Retford. You kind of focus on these pocket areas, and then work in conjunction with the city. The model is already there. The model is shown that it can work. We can do this in a completely racially agnostic way. We can do this in it won't be economically agnostic, but we can do it in a way that retains the spirit and the soul of these neighborhoods, while at the same time providing resources for the people that currently live there and would like to live there. So I'm glad you brought that up, because the city is not necessarily the one creating the context for that narrative. The city, I think, is trying its best to provide more to the neighborhoods, but it's a lot of work of these nonprofits that are really making change in some of these neighborhoods.
And we had some of those conversations when it came to Belle Isle, right? Mm-hmm. The challenges of funding Belle Isle, the more than $100 million that the state's put into Belle Isle that the city just didn't have. Yeah. And then you see the ribbon cutting on A.B. Ford Park this week, which I cannot wait to get out to this weekend.
No, me neither.
Over on Jefferson Chalmers.
Yeah, and speaking of that, and then we have the Riverfront Park that's getting ready to open week after next.
We got an episode on that coming in people's feeds.
Again, very exciting stuff, but this is all public, private, and nonprofit partnership. It is all of it working in tandem. It is all working together. And so I think it's possible to replicate that, and we'll see. But, Jared, I'm glad you brought that up, because the more we can destroy the downtown versus the neighborhoods narrative and really get to a point to where downtown and midtown are starting to share that knowledge with the rest of the city, I think we'll find ourselves in a better spot.
Knowledge and the resources.
That's right.
So, all right, well, we're going to leave it here. Feedback, as always, dailydetroit@gmail.com. Thank you so much to our members at patreon.com/dailydetroit. You make it so we can have these long-form conversations that get past the sound bites on social media and get past the anger and really focus on solutions that push this region forward. So join us, patreon.com/dailydetroit. With that, I'm Jer Stays.
And I'm Norris Howard.
Remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around town. All right, the main show is done recording.
First of all, thank y'all for joining us this early in the morning. Love y'all.
WTF from Tommy. It seems like even basic optics sold in Detroit. I agree with you, but you'd be surprised, Tommy, how many city residents don't care. Like, I've talked to voters, a lot of voters who are like, it's not a big deal. I mean, that's just the thing. This is my own axe, okay? I'm willing to understand that I may not be in the majority that cares about this. But I've talked to a lot of voters who are like, hey, you know what, I don't really mind. And
no, they don't mind, because half their family lives in Southfield.
That's true.
Like, just being honest. Just being honest. It's a lot of people that live in Southfield used to live in Detroit. I mean, Southfield is Detroit Junior. Southfield is Detroit with a good job.
Ferndale is Detroit light.
No.
For another community.
There you go. There you go. Ferndale is the Palmer Park Annex.
Palmer Park Annex. I love that. Let's see, go in the chat. Villages CDC is really trying to get a lot more. Stina's correct on that. Beautifying. The Villages CDC is doing fundraising. There's the stuff with Little Village. I know that some of it's controversial, especially on social media. But man, go to the Shepherd, see what's happening at Warda, see what's happening at the bar over there, see the new buildings going. I mean, it is just amazing.
Again, it's like
it's what we deserve.
Regardless of how you feel about the individuals or some of the politics or whatever, it's that these groups are getting things done. These neighborhood groups, these nonprofits are getting shit done.
Well, you know, a hard thing about crime, and I understand that there are a lot of concerns because there are a lot of issues.
Or there should be.
The hard thing about crime is that the way that the media covers crime is the way that people click on it the most.
Yes.
Okay, so I used to work in TV news. I
if
worked
it
around
bleeds,
this
it leaves, doggy bone.
And then we are going to have no follow-up on what happened afterward because nobody cares to watch it.
No.
And so crime is always going to feel worse. It is terrible what happened. But also, it's always going to be highlighted worse than it is because our human nature is a fear response. So the media plays into that, but that's also what people want, right? Like, it's always this weird thing of like, what's real and what will people watch? And then it's real that people are getting hurt out there.
Well, it's you know, we're always attracted to violence, blood, and guts. American culture fundamentally is a violent culture, I think. But here's the thing: when people say, you know, we don't talk about crime enough on the show, or we downplay crime, or I've even had somebody tell me, you know, oh, Norris, you live in downtown and Midtown, like you don't really know what it's like out here. Like I grew up in Brightmo. Like people don't understand what, you know, some of the things I've seen and been privy to throughout most of my life. And, you know, my parents' homes have been broken into multiple times.
I've had so much stuff stolen from me.
Yeah, and so it's not like me or my family have never been victims of crime. Like I've never known anybody that's been murdered, never known anybody that's been shot. Of course I do. The problem is that I refuse to let my own victimization or the victimization of people around me blind me to progress that's been made. Flat out. I'm not going to let it happen. I think it's really important for us to acknowledge the progress that's been made, but I also think it's really important for us to understand that we are not giving our youth enough chance to find other options.
Well, the root causes don't share on social media.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you, we've had people talking about community violence intervention.
Sure have.
Does not do the numbers.
Nope. Y'all don't want to hear it.
You don't want to hear it. Every time we cover solutions on this show, y'all don't want to hear it.
We've
not the people in our chat.
Yeah, but
the wider public doesn't want to hear it.
We've talked to Detroit 300. We've talked to all sorts of community action groups that have taken it upon themselves to police their own communities or to partner with DPD and create community policing initiatives, which, by the way, we did a whole holistic story on, talking about how community policing initiatives between groups in the DPD have dropped murder in the city precipitously.
Yeah, I've talked with ex-felons about it on this show.
Precipitously.
Who have changed their station in life and then teaching others and working on how to resolve these things.
Yeah.
But you know what does do numbers? Those talking points, those national, it's that rage bait that's our national conversation right now.
Yeah.
And not our audience right here, not our core audience.
No.
When I'm talking about spreading out into the community,
Yeah.
you know, we would do better numbers if we were just like, things are always terrible, burn it down, scream. We would do so much better numbers if we played into everybody's fears.
Yeah, and so for me, it's like I am not trying to downplay crime, but I'm also not trying to downplay progress. And I think that is a thing that we have done so much in the city of Detroit until really recently, like until literally the past couple years, where people are beginning to acknowledge progress.
Well, because we're starting to open our ears in the national conversation, especially with younger leaders, because you think about what's happening in New York, just turned 34. We could have the possibility of a mayor under 40 here. Mm-hmm. You have people who have a different view and experience where it's not just about fighting with fighting, fighting something with violence, but saying, okay, why is this like, I don't believe most people want to do terrible things. I think a lot of times there aren't actual options out there. I've done training, I've done classes, I've been out there, and it's
rough, bro.
It's rough because there's no other options.
It's really rough. And I've a lot of people don't know this about me. I used to do youth work for many years up at Northwest Activity Center on the west side of Detroit. I have sat down with Detroit's teenagers. They were teenagers at the time. Most of them are grown now. But worked closely with Detroit's teenagers, with Detroit's preteens, asked them about the ills that they are going through at home, at school, in the streets. And at the end of the day, most of them just wanted something to do. That's how we get here. We've become so deficient at providing the very basic needs that teenagers and young adults need in Detroit. It's insane. And so when we don't provide the after school programs, when we don't provide the sports teams, when we don't provide marching band, when we don't provide orchestra, when we don't provide debate club, when we don't provide tech clubs, when we don't provide individual sports clubs that parents can pay to join, when we don't provide none of that, you don't even go to the mall. You can't go to the mall no more.
Well, you see the issues with the football fights and other things like that.
Right? Because
and that's not just in the city of Detroit.
No, that's everywhere. Right?
Wasn't there an issue in Romulus too recently?
Yeah, but it's an issue specifically in the city of Detroit because previously there used to be options, even in my early adulthood and teen years. Right, at the bare minimum, half day out of school, bet we going to Northland, we going to Fairlane, we gonna hang out at this place, we gonna drive to this arcade, we gonna go to this place and hang out. There's no more third spaces. There's no more places for kids to be kids, and so now kids got to interface with adults, and adults are crazy, right? And so for me, we really got to pay attention to not just the services we're providing to adults in terms of public transit, job training, so on and so forth, but what are the services we're providing to our children that give them a different perspective and a different outlook, a new lease on life, and what's possible, even just within their own city.
Well, that lack of third spaces is part of why when you look at studies, and I'm no expert, but we've done some reporting around this. When you look at studies in Michigan and you see that grade level attainment matches up almost 100% always with household income. The grade attainment of the school district almost always matches up with household income. And when you take away the third spaces, it's about who can pay for those activities themselves.
That's right.
And so that doubly hurts a community that doesn't have those resources.
Absolutely.
Whether it's Detroit or anywhere else in this nation.
Absolutely.
And that is a fundamental thing. Now, I know, I'm sorry to cut people off, but I know we've got a heart out.
Yeah.
But I want to thank everybody for going in there. I'm sorry I haven't been able to get to all of the questions or things this time around. This is a pop-up stream, and I have to get this out to the main feed.
Yep.
But I hear you. Definitely want your feedback. Definitely will read some stuff on the air if you send it in dailydetroit@gmail.com. And let's do this thing. I know that as I said, I'm sorry. We got a heart out.
We got to leave, but we love y'all.
Yes. Thank you so much for this pop-up live stream. And let's get into it. Thank you so much. And we will talk very soon. Appreciate you.
Bye.